Hi, my name is Donna Houle. I'm president of the Friends of Looff Carousel at Slater Park, and we're very happy to be celebrating our 125th anniversary this year. The historic Looff Carousel at Slater Park in Pawtucket was carved by Charles I.D. Looff of Brooklyn, New York in 1895. The carousel was placed in Leaf Funland Park in Troy, New York until 1910. It was then moved to the newly designed Slater Park in 1910 by businessman and carousel concessionaire John H. Walker and purchased by the city of Pawtucket 3 years later. The carousel is only one of 6 carousels in the country that is still in its original building, a 10-sided building with a cupola and the original stained glass windows made of sandwich glass by the Sandwich Glass Works of Sandwich, Massachusetts. The brightly colored panes of sandwich glass are reflected by the glinting of the sun from the man-made lake across the way. Slater Park was designed by the firm of Frederick Law Olmsted of Massachusetts and is comprised of 197 acres. The park was created from 1894 to 1907 on the land once occupied by the Daggett Farm and is noted as one of the first newly created public parks in the country. Slater Park is also one of the state's first trolley parks, along with Crescent Park in Riverside, Rhode Island. The stationary Looff Carousel is made up of 44 horses, 3 dogs, 1 lion, 1 camel, 1 giraffe, and 2 chariots. A band organ built in 1909 by the North Tonawanda Musical Instrument Works was purchased in 1996 and completes the carousel. The band organ had been converted to play Wurlitzer 150 rolls in 1920. The Looff Carousel in Slater Park were added to the National Historic Register in April of 1976. Looff is best known for designing very elaborately carved horses in the Coney Island style. The horse's mane is stylized and very ornate. Rosettes and tassels hang from the saddles. Cut-class jewels with a distinctive starburst pattern were imported from Czechoslovakia, and small mirrors were added. Many horses have a spoon-shaped saddle, which is comfortable for an adult. The carousel also features a leaper horse that is noticeably different than the other horses. It is smaller than the other horses with a short mane rather than the flamboyant mane on the other carvings, and the 2 front legs are leaping in the air. It is part of urban legend that a park official many years ago took a special liking to a particular horse and hid the carousel horse in his office until he could take it home and replace it with the leaper horse. It was long rumored that there was a ring arm that held carousel rings and the coveted brass ring that riders would try to catch as they rode on the carousel and throw it into a clown's mouth. In the 1990s, Bill Finkelstein of R&F Design was hired to restore some of the carousel horses. When he first came to the park and started taking the horses down to put them in his truck for the long ride back to his shop in Bristol, Connecticut, he heard a rattling coming from the bodies of a few of the horses. He stuck his arm into the pot of the horse where the real horse tails once were, and he pulled out a number of carousel rings. A few Pawtucket residents who are now in their late 80s and early 90s have recently told me they remember a ring arm and a large display with a clown's mouth being at the carousel until the 1950s, when the city had them taken down, possibly because of the high insurance fees.
Hi, I'm Patti McAlpine, and I'm a poet, and I run the Galway Canal Poetry Festival, which runs from September workshop with the photos from the photo contest that runs in Pawtucket at the same time. And the photo that I used to inspire me was one taken by my colleague Donna Houle with the Tourism Council, and it was two of the carousel horses resting, laying on the ground. The other inspiration comes from the wonderful movie Mary Poppins, so I think you'll enjoy it. Carousel horses at the end of the day. Phew, what a day it's been. How did you fare? I had one child that refused to get off my back. His mother tugged and pulled, but he tugged and pulled at my tail, his palms sweating, and was if he thought I was real, and if he thought Mary Poppins would appear, and he and I, you and the other horses would go galloping through the park. And then we did. Oh yes, I now recall. We galloped among the fields, invisible to all, except the children who led us to the bike path, following the 10-mile river, exhausting after standing in one place most days, months, and years. To be galloping free, now we need to rest, sleep, and dream.
The carousel once traveled at a dizzying speed of 14 miles an hour, the fastest turntable ever built. But a young woman fell off a horse in 1913 and broke her leg, and the carousel was slowed down to 12 miles an hour, and now is still one of the fastest carousels in the country at 9 miles an hour. The carousel has the distinction as one of the oldest standard carousels in the United States. It does not go up and down like our sister carousel at Crescent Park in Riverside. The Looff Carousel was in disrepair and closed in 1969. Many of the carousel horses had no tails, the horses' legs were broken, and the giraffe had no head. In 1971, the city had decided that the carousel horses were going to be sold at a sealed bid auction, and the building was scheduled to be torn down. A public outcry arose, and under the leadership of Edna Kent Partridge, president of the Pawtucket Junior Women's Club, school children were sent out to the neighborhoods to collect signatures to demand that their beloved carousel be saved. It was the week before Christmas, and minutes before the carousel bids were to be opened, the petition was presented to the mayor at City Hall, and the auction was stopped. After the meeting, the sealed bids were opened, and bids averaging $5 to $30 per horse, and a bid of $35 for 2 chariots were received. The carousel underwent extensive repairs with funding from grants, donations, city and state funding, and money funded by the Rhode Island Historic Preservation Commission. It was reopened to the public with much fanfare in 1979. Another major 15-year historic restoration project was initiated in 1989.
Hi, this is Suzanne Buchanan here at Looff Carousel 2020. In 1995, I came and did a little video for the 100th anniversary. Fast forward to 25 years, and here I am today, still loving the Looff Carousel. But I'm going to share a little clip that I did in 1995, and we'll take a little ride down memory lane.
And speaking of wonderful memories, I'd like to introduce my dad to you, Emil Messier. And Dad, it's my dad who introduced me here to the Looff Carousel. And what do you say, for old time's sake, we go for a ride?
Yeah, I'd love that.
Okay. So, we hope to see you around in the Blackstone Valley.
In the 1990s, the picture frames, rounding boards, sweeps, platform, and the interior of the building itself was transformed to look as it did the day the carousel was relocated to Slater Park. In the last few years, the gears were repaired, the hardwood floor was restored, the organ was repaired, and the horses, chariots, and menagerie animals were lovingly restored on a regular basis by William Finkelstein of WRF Design, formerly RNF Design of Connecticut. A year-long study was recently completed by preservation architect Fred Love and the firm of Robinson Green Beretta of Providence. A schedule to completely replace the roof and add new gutters and a lightning rod, replace the stairs and add handrails, redo the doors, replace all the windows, repair the original sandwich glass windows, replace the handicapped access ramp, repaint the inside of the building, and replace the electrical lighting and add new light bulbs and spotlights inside and outside the carousel, and add a foam fire suppression system was completed between 2019 and 2020. The plans were approved by the Planning Department of the City of Pawtucket, the Pawtucket Historic District Commission, and the Rhode Island Historic Preservation Commission. Money for the extensive repairs was available from grants, city funding, and state historic preservation bonds. The carousel also received a National Carousel Association grant of $3,000 towards restoration of the horses. The carousel has a regular schedule of operation during the year. It is open on weekends from May to June, 7 days a week from June to September, and weekends from September to October. We have celebrated Arts in the Park for more than 20 years at Slater Park, and the highlight of the week-long celebration is a performance of the Rhode Island Philharmonic in September on a stage set up next to the carousel, followed by fireworks. The highly anticipated event attracts approximately 10,000 people every year. Pumpkins in the Park and a haunted Halloween are also celebrated in October at the carousel, and on the first 2 weekends of December, we celebrate Winter Wonderland. The carousel is also available for special events, wedding photos, and children's birthday parties. A newly formed Friends of Looff Carousel at Slater Park was created in February 2018. Our mission is to do extensive fundraising for the continued restoration and renovation of the carousel by researching new grants and selling carousel items, including carousel coasters, trivets, Christmas ornaments, mugs, and other items. We plan to restart the once popular Adopt a Course program with local businesses and Pennies for Ponies with schools and youth groups participating. We also plan to do a slideshow and present a recently completed video of the history of the carousel in the park to local civic and fraternal organizations and talk about the importance of the carousel in the community. The Friends of Looff Carousel is made up entirely of volunteers. We partner with the Parks Department in planning a National Carousel Days event at the park in July, which features carousel rides, food trucks, art and craft vendors, music, and activities for children. The Looff Carousel at Slater Park is widely regarded as one of the most historic, most respected, and best maintained carousels in the country. And the carousel was honored by receiving the prestigious National Historic Carousel Award in 2018 by the National Carousel Association.